I talk to my mother 3 times a week. Not because I want to, not because I'm a good son, but because if I don't, she starts calling my coworkers. I found out the hard way. Hi, this is Ruth, Adam's mother. I'm just wondering if he's okay. He usually answers by Tuesday. It was Thursday. It's not that I don't love my parents. I do. Fiercely. Painfully. In the way you love a house that gave you shelter but also has a mold problem no one will admit to. My dad, for instance, is the kind of man who thinks every feeling can be solved with a sandwich. I once told him I had a panic attack, and he made me a turkey club with extra mayo and said, "This should sort it out." My mom is a guilt wizard. She doesn't scream, she sighs. Loudly, like she's exhaling generations of disappointment. Then there's my older brother, Ben. We haven't had a proper conversation in 5 years that didn't involve sports, beer, or pretending we weren't mad at each other. He's the golden child, the one who has 3 kids, a mortgage, and a grill he actually uses. And Lucy, my younger sister. She's chaotic and brilliant and somehow always in the middle of a crisis. A breakup, a new tattoo, an existential spiral. We talk almost every day. Mostly because she overshares and I pretend I'm annoyed, but really, I need it. So yeah, that's the family. When I was younger, I thought everyone's parents were like mine, equal parts loving and emotionally constipated. It wasn't until I got to college and met people whose moms asked how they were doing without lacing it with judgment that I realized, oh, that's an option? My current therapist calls it complicated attachment. I call it Tuesday night. This story really started when Dad turned 70. Mom wanted to throw a party, a big one, which in Ruth speak meant a full weekend of emotional minefields disguised as potluck. "We'll all be together," she said. "It'll be fun." Spoiler, it wasn't. Ben flew in from Chicago with his perfect wife and his perfect kids who already knew how to emotionally suppress like tiny professionals. Lucy showed up late with purple hair and a mysterious French guy named Adrian who said almost nothing and smelled like sage. I came alone, on purpose. The first night, Mom made brisket. Ben made a joke about how dry it was, and I swear to God, the temperature in the room dropped 6 degrees. Lucy poured wine like it was her job. I made polite conversation with Adrian about the essential oils, while Ben explained cryptocurrency to our dad, who kept calling it fake money for the internet. The whole evening had the emotional texture of soggy cardboard. Later that night, I found myself in the backyard with my mom. She was watering her ferns like they hadn't betrayed her by growing unevenly. "I just wish you boys got along better," she said out of nowhere. "We get along fine," I lied. "You barely look at each other." "Maybe we're just evolving," I said, "into parallel organisms." She sighed. Classic Ruth. "You were so close when you were little." "Yeah, well, then he got cool and I got weird, and the rest is passive-aggressive history." She looked at me the way only mothers can, like she's reading a novel she mostly wrote but no longer understands. The second day was worse. Dad insisted we all go mini-golfing, which might sound wholesome, except for the fact that Ben turns everything into a competitive death match, Lucy refused to wear shoes, and Adrian wandered off to commune with the trees. At hole 7, Ben made a joke about how I still live alone and probably talk to your plants more than people. Everyone laughed, except me. I should have let it go, but I didn't. I said, "Better than raising tiny humans you barely know because you work 70 hours a week." That one landed hard. Even Adrian looked up from the tree. Ben didn't say anything. He just finished the hole in silence and then spent the rest of the game not looking at me, which was fine. I wasn't looking at him either. That night, Lucy knocked on my door with 2 wine glasses and no bottle. "I already drank most of it," she said, plopping onto my childhood bed. We sat cross-legged like kids, except now we were older and full of wine and regret. "Why do we all suck at this?" she asked. "At what?" "Family, talking, not wanting to strangle each other." "Evolution," I said. "We're just emotionally adapting." She laughed. Then she got quiet. "Ben's kind of a dick to you," she said. "He's a dick to everyone," I replied, but it didn't sound convincing, even to me. "No, but he's always trying to prove something, like he needs to win at being an adult." I shrugged. "And I'm just trying not to drown in therapy bills." She put her head on my shoulder. "I love you, though." "I know." "Like, I'd still love you even if you got really into, like, yoga pants and crystals." I snorted. "I appreciate your open-mindedness." We sat in silence for a bit. The house creaked like it was tired of holding us all together. "I think Mom's scared we'll all drift," Lucy said finally. "We already did," I replied. "She's just trying to reel us back in." "Well, maybe let her." The next morning was the brunch. Mom went all out. Quiches, muffins, bacon, the works. Dad wore a new polo and told the same story about the time he saw Bruce Springsteen in '78 like it was gospel. I watched Ben with his kids, trying to see something I missed, and I did. He was tired, not just physically, existentially. Like life had been moving too fast for too long, and he was just trying to keep pace. After everyone ate, Mom stood up and gave a little speech. She cried, obviously, and so did Lucy. Adrian did not, but he patted my back like it was a universal gesture of healing. And then, in a moment of what I can only describe as absolute social suicide, I stood up. "I just want to say something," I said. Ben raised an eyebrow. Lucy nodded encouragingly. Mom looked terrified. "I know I'm not the best at this," I gestured around, "but I'm here, and I love you, all of you, even when you're impossible." I looked at Ben. "Especially you." That caught him off guard. "I know we don't talk much," I continued, "and we probably never will, but I respect you, and I'm proud of you, and I don't say that enough." He looked at me for a long moment. Then he stood up, walked over, and hugged me. The kind of hug that says, "Okay, I see you now." We left the next day. The kids cried. Lucy made us all take Polaroids. Adrian kissed my mom's hand like he was in a 19th century novel. Ben and I exchanged numbers again. Real ones this time, not the ones we used for group texts and digital distance. And I kept calling Mom. Not 3 times a week, but enough. Enough that she didn't call my boss. And every now and then, I call Lucy, just to say, "Don't get another tattoo until we talk about it." Sometimes I call Ben. Sometimes he calls first. We don't say much, but sometimes not much is enough. Family doesn't always get easier, but sometimes it gets softer, quieter, kinder. And that's enough too. At the mini-golf place, after the blow-up at hole 7, Ben didn't say much, but he didn't leave either. He just got quieter. Lucy and Adrian drifted ahead, Adrian pausing every few minutes to snap moody photos of mushrooms or fence posts. Dad was too busy losing to notice the tension, and Mom just hovered, smiling too much, like the party would stay intact if she grinned hard enough. I stayed close to Ben, mostly out of guilt, and maybe a little out of habit. We used to do everything together when we were kids. He'd ride ahead on his bike, and I'd follow behind, trying to keep up. It felt like that again, only now we were grown men carrying old wounds like duffel bags we never unpacked. After the game, he waited for me outside the bathroom. Just stood there, fiddling with his sunglasses, trying to look casual and failing miserably. "I wasn't trying to be a dick," he said when I came out. "That's usually a sign you were," I replied. He cracked a smile. "Fair." We leaned against the wall, watching Lucy teach Adrian how to use a vending machine like it was an ancient puzzle box. "You're not wrong, you know," Ben said. "About what?" "Me. Work, the kids. Half the time I feel like I'm watching my life go by through a windshield." That surprised me. Not the content, Ben has always been stretched too thin, but the admission, honesty wasn't our thing. Jokes, sure. Rivalry, always. But this was new. I think we both got handed different scripts, I said. Yours said excel. Mine said survive. He nodded. And neither came with a manual. We didn't hug or anything gross like that, but we stood there long enough that the silence started to feel like a truce. Want to get a drink later? He asked. I blinked. Like, just us? Yeah, no kids, no French boyfriends, just brothers. Sure, I said. You buyin'? He rolled his eyes. You still owe me from that time in '09. I was unemployed. You were freelancing. That's just unemployment with Wi-Fi. We laughed, like real laughter, and for the first time all weekend, it felt like something clicked back into place. That night, after dinner, Dad pulled me into the garage. He does that sometimes, pulls you into enclosed spaces for weirdly heartfelt monologues. When I was 12, he gave me a sex talk in the car wash. When I graduated college, he gave me life advice in the laundry room. Now, we stood surrounded by rusted tools and cobwebbed Christmas lights. Your mother's happy, he said. This weekend meant a lot to her. I know. And I know we're not exactly the Waltons. Not unless the Waltons passive-aggressively judged each other's life choices. He chuckled. We're all just trying. You're doing okay, kid. That stopped me. I don't say that enough, he added, because I don't always understand the way you live, but I see it. You're doing okay. I wanted to say something profound. Instead, I said, your garage smells like dead mice. That's how you know it's functional. We didn't hug either. That's not how the men in our family work. But he clapped my shoulder and handed me a six-pack from the garage fridge, and in his language, that was a full-blown sonnet. Ben and I did go for that drink. We sat in a local dive bar with sticky floors and cheap beer and watched a baseball game we didn't care about. He told me about the promotion he turned down. I told him about the relationship I didn't fight for. We agreed that Dad's brisket is better than Mom's, but neither of us would say it out loud. It wasn't dramatic, but it was real, and it was enough. The morning we all left, Mom stood in the driveway like she was seeing her children off to war. She hugged Lucy too long, gave Adrian a Tupperware of something he probably couldn't identify, then turned to me. You look thinner, she said. I look the same. You should eat more. I eat fine. Then sit up straighter. Mom. She looked at me, really looked, then hugged me so tight I felt her ribs. I know we didn't make it easy, she whispered. Neither did I. She pulled back, her eyes glassy. Call me 3 times a week. 2, she said, and 1 text. Deal. On the plane home, I pulled out my phone and texted Lucy. Miss you already. Don't get bangs. She replied, too late. Also, you made Ben cry. Gold star. Then Ben sent a message too. That was a good weekend. Weirdly. I replied, same. Let's not wait for another birthday to talk. No response right away. But 10 minutes later, a gif of 2 beer mugs clinking. Progress. I still talk to Mom every week. Not 3 times. Usually once, sometimes twice if I'm feeling saintly. Dad sends me emails with subject lines like, interesting article on sleep, and no actual message inside. Lucy and I are back to our usual rhythm, oversharing, overanalyzing, and accidentally calling each other in the middle of work meetings. And Ben? We talk now. Not often, but enough. We even met up once when he was in town. It was awkward and good. Family doesn't fix itself overnight. It's not a montage set to music. It's slow, uneven, awkward, and imperfect. But sometimes it shows up and stays long enough for you to stop resenting it.